Welcome to Woodshop 101, where everything is made up and the points don't matter. Now meet the yin and yang of woodworking and the lady that keeps them in line, Jeremy, Drew, and Sam.
Welcome to episode 59. Tonight we're going to talk about sharpening chisels and our preferred saw blades. We are joined tonight again by our guest host, Todd of the American Craftsman Workshop. How's it going tonight, Todd?
Well, pretty good, guys. Glad to be back. Had a lot of fun with the first round. We'll see what happens tonight.
Yeah, we've had some good responses. What's going on, Drew?
Oh, not a lot, man. Just, well, I would say I'm answering comments, but I've got a lot of comments to answer from my last video. So that's probably what I'll be doing after this is over.
I will probably be going to bed. I've had the longest day ever. And in fact, I was already asleep. I fell asleep upstairs on our couch up in the game room, and apparently I slept for quite a while through my daughter getting her hair dried and everything. And they woke me up and was like, "It's time to go to put the kids to bed." I was like, "Oh, okay." I was like, "Oh," and I looked down. I was like, "Oh, it's 9 o'clock." And then just so happened, you text me. It was like, "I'm gonna be a few minutes late." I was like, "All right, good. I'm gonna sit here for a minute."
Long day of training.
Yeah, I was actively instructing students for about 8 hours today and sitting in, we call it backing the class. We sit in the back of a class just to be a sounding board for other instructors for another 4 hours. And so it just wore me out. So, all right, well, what is going on in y'all's shop? Don't all answer at once.
First.
Ooh. Me first.
Drew?
Let's see. Right now I am prepping for an upcoming collaboration project with my brother at Leader Creek Customs. I'm working on a metal / hard maple desk for my cousin, as a matter of fact. So it's a big U-shaped desk that actually breaks apart into 3 sections, and we're going to put hard maple gym flooring that was salvaged from a gymnasium that was being demolished.
Okay, that sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So is your brother, does he do metal work then?
Oh yeah, he's been a welder for Lord knows how long. Basically ever since he took it in ag class back when he was a freshman in high school, and that was way back in he'd probably say about 85 maybe. Yeah, something like that.
So he's pretty skilled at this point anyways.
Yeah, he's seasoned.
Yeah. Well, does he live close to you?
He's about an hour and a half southeast of me.
Oh, okay. Just enough to be kind of annoying to drive very often.
Yeah, and the annoying part is observed by my wife every time I have to go.
Well, I think it's pretty cool because, I work with metal guys. We collaborate a lot. I mean, because just from an efficiency standpoint, I can't necessarily do it all. So, and they can't either. So in order to be more productive, I work with these metal guys. I do the wood end and they do the other part. And collaborating has got to be one of my favorite things. I mean, so some people, you can do it all if you want, but the fact is it's a lot of fun to work with other craftsmen. So I think it's really cool to see you going that way, doing a collaboration with metal in your project.
Yeah, I've never been one for metal. I've tried my hand at it, and I could never pick it up. And my brother is kind of the opposite. He took metal pretty fast when I took up woodworking pretty fast, and we always kind of characterize ourselves in woodworking like he's the rough carpenter and I'm the finished carpenter.
Yeah.
So
now, hey, did you see my recent Instagram post? I was sharing some of the wax finish that my blacksmith does. He just puts Johnson paste wax on it. You heat it up with a torch and put Johnson paste wax on it.
I use that stuff all the time. But he heats it up and just melts it?
Yeah. Heat up the metal, and you don't have to get it red hot or anything, but basically heat it up and brush it on or wipe it on. It melts in, and then you can, once it cools, you can kind of buff off the excess. But it ends up giving it, reasonable protection, great protection if it's interior, not good protection for exterior, of course. And it's easy to apply. It doesn't chip off like paint would. And it has a really neat feel to it because the fact is because it's not a film finish on the metal, just similar as to wood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might have to show him that, because would it work on a painted surface on metal?
Oh, think? No. Well, you can't put it on paint. No.
No. Okay.
If you're doing so, like if you were using square tubing or whatever and angle iron, and you kind of grind it off, or you clean it off and then heat it up and put the wax on, but you don't want to put paint on it. And then if you decided you wanted to paint it, you got to strip it off, of course. So if you decide you want to powder coat it or paint it otherwise, you'd need to clean the wax off.
But it wouldn't work on top of paint, is what I'm saying.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
We've not done that.
That's what we're planning on doing is painting it like a gunmetal gray per the customer's instructions. So.
Oh, okay.
Just didn't know if there was that finish would work on it or not.
Oh, okay. No. Oh, so this is for a client. It's not for yourself?
No, it's for my cousin. He is a.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you just.
Yeah, he does a lot of internet. I really don't even know what he does. It has to do with internet, but he has his own business. He works out of his house, and he needs a much bigger work surface area. And the dude is very nitpicky, so we have to be really, really detail oriented with the desk.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the best kind of client, the ones that are nitpicky.
At least it's family, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, that might be worse.
Yeah,
you could say no and part ways and never speak again.
Yeah, sometimes it can be.
What's going on in your shop, Todd?
Well, I got since we talked last, I got the cabinet doors done, and the clients actually did the painting on them, and we installed them. They look fabulous. Also, I'm finishing out a trim job tomorrow, and I'm waiting to hear back on a dining table that I'm supposed to build, and wanting to get on a couple of the other projects we had talked about too, the gravity clock, ramp, and what was the other one? Oh, and a sofa table. So I got a lot of things in the air. I had to squeeze in a job, one of the local breweries. In fact, one of the local breweries called me. They had some issues and they needed repairs right away, so I had to run and do that. So, but I tell you what, it seems like I got a lot of balls in the air. I'm just juggling, and there's always a lot, in the air, and you got to grab them and toss them again real quick to get them out. So, lots to do. But that's good.
Yeah, staying busy. I mean, when you're busy, that's when the income comes in.
Yes. And, there's always overlap. I've always got several things going, always, usually one big job and some smaller things on the side ready to go. And as soon as there's an opening, you stick it in, and, it's really the way that you keep the money flowing solid.
Yeah. So I don't have a lot going on in the shop. It's a big surprise, I know. It seems like one thing after another just keeps pushing it out further and further. So come Saturday, it was Saturday, yeah, Saturday afternoon, we're getting ready to take the kids to putt-putt, and my lawn guy was here. He come around the corner to want to talk to me, and he said, you know about your leak? I said, what are you talking about, my leak? He's like, oh, man. He's like, he took me over to the corner of my property, and he showed me, and apparently my main line for my sprinkler system has busted and has just been, and it's on the corner of my property or on the edge of my property between me and my neighbor. And I don't ever walk over there. So, I never noticed. And so apparently it's been leaking for quite a while, and it is just like flooded the area, puddled it up so bad that when he drove the ride lawnmower through my neighbor's yard, it just sank. And
Oh man. But this is your sprinkler line. It's not like your water line for the house.
yeah, no, it is definitely the sprinkler line.
Oh, okay.
So it's, not a major repair, but it's big enough. I mean, your main sprinkler is, a couple inches in diameter, so there's a lot of water flowing through it.
Yeah.
And especially if it's been going for any time now. So that'll be a repair that gets to be done this weekend. I get to tear up the yard and try to replace it back as easy.
Are you doing it?
Yeah, I'm.
That's not something landlord takes care of?
I do all the repairs. He pays for it. I would prefer I do the repairs. I don't, unless it's a contractor that I'm having come out, I prefer him not call somebody to come out because I don't know the person. I don't want them at the house, and I can do it on my time,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, it's, relatively cheap to fix. It's just a lot of labor involved having to pull up the yard. And I'm, pretty OCD about a lot of things. And the yard's one of them. So I'm going to have to try to pull up the grass or cut the grass up to where I can lay it back and patch it in. So hopefully by the springtime, it's going to have grown back together.
Yeah.
So that sprinkler system's probably what's been keeping your pond out there full.
No. Yeah, I hope not.
Listen, he's like, no.
And creating the mosquito hazard for everybody in the neighborhood.
I hope not. Well, I don't know if you've seen it, Todd. I think I posted a picture on Instagram. I'm not sure. I got a huge fishing pond, right? 50,
oh, you do?
Yeah, 50 yards behind my house. I mean, it's big enough that it's got a gator in it.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
And
it's his new pet.
It is my new pet. In fact, my wife all weekend would walk outside randomly and try to find it.
Oh my word!
But yeah, I
didn't realize you got gators. Well, yeah, South Carolina.
Oh, yeah, South Carolina's got a bunch of gators.
Okay.
So, yeah, so I'm hoping that's not what's keeping that full, Drew, because my water bill will be skyrocketing. But we'll be doing that on the plus side. Friday night, I did get a few minutes, probably about a half hour in the shop. I finally got the miter saw put together, and I got it because I went ahead and got the miter saw stand for it. So I got the stand put together and got it all mounted. I just need to do some adjustments on the saw, make sure it's in calibration and stuff. And so hopefully Thursday, I'm going to try to take off work on Thursday. The kids will be in school. My wife will be off, and she's going to help me start clearing out the shop and getting it ready for the electrician to come in. So I'm hoping I'll be able to get an electrician in next week. But I'm
hear that, Sam? That's only 2 more steps until the dining room table's done.
No, that's not. That's not necessarily. I'll run. I'm going to try as soon as I can get some room to work. I'm going to try to start working on the table. That's just the problem is I have no room. I have still stuff in boxes in the shop. So
just humor me.
Well, I was going to say, did you get like a job site trailer? Did you buy one?
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
I was going to. But
I was going to say you just need to go. You just need to go contractor style, man.
I was going to. In fact, I had already ordered one. They're just north of Houston, and they were gonna take the trailer like the week after I talked to the guy up to their fabricator, and he was going to go ahead and run outlets in it and run a full electrical package and everything.
Wow.
And so when it came down to it, I emailed the guy and I was like, all right, hold that trailer. I'll be up there in like 2 days to pay for it. And he writes me back and says, I sold the trailer. And it just rubbed me so wrong.
Oh, man.
Because I'd been talking to him for about 3 weeks about getting a trailer. And I was just shy of their deadline to custom order one. So that's why they were going to take like an in-house one and take it and get it fabricated for me and get everything I needed. And it rubbed me the wrong way because like and he couldn't tell me when he would have another one in. and he knew I was under a time frame. He knew that's the
Right.
trailer that I was getting, and instead of saying, "Hey, are you going to get this? Somebody else is wanting it," he just sells it out from under me, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do it, and I'm glad I didn't, because my HOA would not allow a trailer parked out front. So
You're right.
it will all come together. It's just moving here with the bad weather and now leaks and repairs to the house. It's just one thing after another, but it will definitely get there. Just got to learn to be patient, I guess.
Dang HOAs.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we're going to continue this little series, I guess, with Todd Clippinger here. We've got a few questions that I'm guessing actually came from Todd's viewers, because I certainly haven't got any.
No, they came from me. I got.
They didn't come to me.
No, they came to me.
Nobody cares about me. They're just like, you ain't got any answers.
Well, I mean, when somebody's like on the website or whatever and they submit questions, it just comes to my email, because it comes through the contact form on the website. But the first one came. I went back to try to find who sent the second one, and I couldn't find it. So if this is your question, I'm sorry that I couldn't find your name.
We
It's
give
probably
no
the guy
props.
that doesn't listen. Guy doesn't listen anymore.
Yeah, it's probably-
You don't talk woodworking.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
probably
true.
him.
Okay, well, our first question comes from Scott Taylor. Scott asks, how do you sharpen your chisels? And since Todd is our guest again, you can take it away, Todd.
Oh, okay. Well, actually, I use now to give a little context, because I'm a contractor, I have to sharpen on a job site. So I learned how to sharpen my chisels with a belt sander and a worn 150 or 180 grit belt sandpaper belt, and then I use a Butz strop board to strop it after I sharpen it, and it will shave the hair. The hair will fly right off your arm after doing that. So I obviously, on a job site, I'll go from doing some rough work to needing to turn around and do some real fine work, and I need to be able to sharpen quickly and efficiently in the field without water stones and without the water mess and a long drawn out process. And one of the things that you got to understand too is a belt sander actually is very efficient, and I can leave one belt on there if I've got a worn 150 or 180, and I'd simply vary the pressure. I can get that chisel really sharp to where all I need to do is finish it off with that strop board, and it makes it razor sharp. But I will say this: it does take skill, and I developed that skill. Sharpening is a skill you have to develop no matter what your method is anyways. And a lot of people say you can't do it with the belt sander, and yes, you can. I've proven that it does work, and that's the way I've been doing it for 15 years now. But one thing I can recommend is a year ago, actually about 14 months ago, after I made the purchase of my big 20-inch jet planer, I had a bunch of credit card, bonus points on, I got an Amazon card, and then I ordered it from Amazon, and it gave me some discount, and I got a bunch of Amazon bucks or whatever, on that card. Well, then I turned around and I closed the card out, but right before I did that, I bought one of those, was a Woodshop 3000, and I would say they work really well, but I don't use it. I still use the belt sander. And I literally 14 months later have the original sandpaper disc that I put on it are still on it because I don't use it. I use it as a power strop in the shop instead of having to hand strop. So in the shop, I still prefer to use my belt sander and then use the Woodshop as a power strop. But I will say, I think the Woodshop actually works pretty good. So if you're looking for a simple system that's not really expensive. The Work Sharp actually it is pretty effective.
Now, for those of us that are kind of stupid and naive about the whole belt sander sharpening thing, and I'm one of them, what direction do you run the belt in relation to your chisel? Away from it or towards it?
Both ways. Actually, I do it both ways. Yes. And I do it both ways because basically you almost have to kind of get it to keep it even. So I will run it both ways. And it's funny because I'm like, you want to flatten the back of the chisel? Just put the back of the chisel on the belt sander and grind away. And then you want to, then you put your bevel on there. And here's a little secret too, guys. Chisels, people get really anal about the chisels, and I my chisels are razor sharp, but guess what? They don't have to be at a perfect 25-degree angle in order for them to work. Actually, I have experimented with everything from a 20-degree up to a 30-degree angle, and what happens there is a difference in performance at the various degrees. 25 degrees is about optimum, where you can get that razor sharp edge and it holds it for a good long time. But when you go to 30, of course, it's more blunt and you can't get as fine as shavings. If you take it down to 21 or 20 degrees, it gets really thin and there's no support. And so you don't keep that edge for very long. But I'll tell you what, it gets like scalpel sharp when you take it down to about 20, anywhere from the 20 to 22 degree range. It's literally scalpel sharp compared to just razor sharp, but it won't hold the edge. It's so paper thin. There's just no support behind it. So keep in mind, you can manipulate that bevel if you want, and it doesn't have to be perfectly 25 degrees anyway. So don't sweat it too much.
Do you micro bevel your chisels at all?
No, I don't. Nope. No, I've tried it. Just don't care for it. Shit, I don't do it. But I can take. Jeremy?
Well, now that Todd had leaded into it, I used the Worksharp 3000.
How long have you had it?
When did they sponsor us, Drew? Back, I think it was early last year. You know what?
Yes,
In fact, I know it was July of last year.
Been over a year ago.
Yeah. So
you got yours about the time I did mine then.
Yeah. So
okay.
I hadn't used it a whole lot because I don't use a lot of chisel work and a lot of plane work, but that is what I use, and it's fairly quick. I do know that I will probably be replacing the sandpaper pretty soon with the DMT wheels. So DMT makes a diamond-plated wheel for the Worksharp, and I will probably be switching to that pretty soon. So I'll still use the machine, but I will use DMT abrasives versus.
I saw those. Yeah, I saw those pop up like on Amazon.
Yeah.
When I went to buy it, but I never went any further than that.
Yeah, I will at least use them for the sharpening aspect, and then I'll go back to the strop that I got with the Worksharp. So, but it's quick and it's reliable. I mean, for I think it was like $250 for the machine, not bad. It does a bunch, and you can buy the accessories, and that's what I liked about it, is the accessories to sharpen knives. So now you can sharpen like your kitchen knives, or you can do. So the machine itself, out of the box, you can do like up to 2-inch wide, like plane irons, and you can buy the accessory to go wider than that. You can do like lathe.
Oh, there it is.
You got it. Just for you. Just for you. So your lathe chisels on one side. So it's to me very versatile, and that's what I like about it.
Yeah, I bought with all the Amazon bucks I had saved up on my credit card from that purchase, like I was saying, I probably never would have bought it, except that I bought the work sharp, and like all these extra discs, the strop, the extra sandpaper, and it only cost me like $90 total, literally. And then that cleared out all those bonus bucks I had, and I closed the account. But I was impressed. It did work. And then I'm just like, wow, it works. And then I just left this leather stop disc on, and I use it as a power strop in the shop, and I sharpen with my belt sander.
Yeah.
Because you got to change through the discs to get through the various grits. But if I use my belt sander, all I need to do is vary the amount of pressure, and I can leave one belt on, and then all I got to do is power strop it after that, and I'm razor sharp.
Yeah.
And then, and what's cool is, maybe you work this way too, you can chisel for a bit and then just strop your chisel, and then work some more, and it's razor sharp again, and then work with it some more, and then strop it. And then I can strop it several times before I need to actually resharpen it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I got the strop when I got the unit, was for that reason, that you could strop it and it'll go back to a nice sharp edge.
Right.
Unless you're working in some pretty hardwoods, like your white oak, stuff like that, then you're going to be able to keep it sharp by using the strop for a while. I tend to try to get through a full project before I actually take it back to the paper and re-hone the edge. So,
Drew, you might have to do a video on this scary sharp chisel sharpening method of yours there, Todd.
I definitely have to. I've had a lot of people ask about it, and in fact, Diami has mentioned it a couple times over, because this for the last couple of years or something. Even, I mean, he's prodded me, and other people have asked, and I definitely got to do it, and it works so well. And it's funny because people have this concept that the belt sander is like for cavemen, and that it's brutal, and that it's unrefined, and it's good for sharpening job site chisels, but not fine woodworking chisels. But the fact is, the belt sander has an abrasive belt, while the work sharp has abrasive disc. What's the difference? And no matter what method you're using an abrasive to remove metal, and then to polish it up to you go through the stages. And the fact is, you can do the same thing with a belt sander. And if you're not good at doing it freehand, you certainly can make some guides for yourself to work with your belt sander, and it would work quite well for you, I'm sure.
Well, I've tried the Worksharp 3000 before, when Jeremy and I first got a hold of them, and before that I was doing just sharpening stones and the Veritas honing guide.
Oh, okay.
I had seen that on Wood Whisperer many eons ago, and decided to get one for myself, and that's what I used for chisels, as well as the planer knives whenever I was trying to make my flea market finds look better again.
Yeah. Right.
And when we came up with the Worksharp giveaway is when I got a hold of one of those, and it works very well. You just have to be patient enough to go through the stages to get up to where the finished product is going to be, changing out the discs and all that.
Yeah.
So
now, one thing, did you notice, have you guys noticed that it doesn't get your chisels perfectly square? It doesn't do it perfectly square. You actually have to manipulate your chisels slightly I think you got to kick the butt end of the chisel out to the right, because it tends to grind heavier on one side.
Yeah.
And
it grinds heavier on the left side of your chisel and your plane irons, at least if you're using the bottom side of the disc. So if you're using the chamber, and that's because it goes in a circular pattern. So
right, and the left side of the chisel, the cutting edge is closer to the center.
Mm-hmm.
So it hits that part
happens.
first. Exactly. I don't think, and the glass itself doesn't deflect, but the spindle, it's not strong enough and heavy enough that it causes it to tilt a little bit, for sure. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, and it's like, well, people were complaining about it. And number one, believe it or not, your chisel doesn't have to be 100% perfectly square. Because I get mine really close, even on my belt sander, but it's not perfect. And you never notice. The bottom of the hole doesn't know if it's not perfectly square. It's what it comes down to. You're shaving off plugs, the plug doesn't know, it gets shaved off clean. The plug doesn't know, or whatever it is you're shaving off, doesn't know if the chisel's perfectly square. If you're really close, that's just fine. And so anyways, it isn't real hard to manipulate the chisel or the plane iron a little bit to get it to come out perfectly square.
Yeah.
So, but I think that was probably, other than I just don't like changing through all the discs because I can do it in one setting with the belt sander. I think that was the only hiccup that I think it had. But I think it works really good, and I really do recommend it because for the money, I think it works wonderfully well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I get, if you're looking for like an all-in-one sharpening system like the Tormek, I would say, and you don't want to get invested in the Tormek system, I think which is initially like $700 or $800. The Worksharp 3000 is a good alternative.
Yeah, I think it's great.
But you have to work with that though. You have to be able to be patient enough to work through the discs. But as long as you work through them, sit through it the first time, you won't have to go back through all the discs again.
Right.
Which I think is a total of 4 sanding pads. It's 2 discs, you flip it over. And then if you want to do the strop, that'll be a third one. But most of the time you can stick with their, I think they call it their micro mesh, which is equivalent to like a 1000 grit, I think is it. And then, you can stick with that or the strop, and either way be pretty good to go. And maybe, once a month or every 2 months, depending on how much you use those chisels and plane irons, go back to drop down maybe to one set of rougher grit below that. But if you're going to do it, I would highly recommend set yourself up like a little sharpening station with it. That's the one thing I noticed is like having to pull all the parts out, set them on the bench to do some sharpening and then put them all away. It becomes a pain to me. So I am going to try to build some kind of little stand, like just a small little sharpening station that I can store everything underneath the top and pull it out as I need it.
Didn't Stumpy do something like that once upon a time?
Yeah, he did. He did a video with the Worksharp and created like a unique stand. But I'm probably just going to create like a little table with maybe like a drawer under it that stores the stuff, and I'll keep the Worksharp like permanently mounted to the top so I can go over to it and hit it right away if I need it and not have to worry about pulling it out.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and go to the next question. Like we said, we don't know who this came from, so unfortunately you won't get credit for it. But if you recognize it, drop us a quick text. Basically, the next question is, what is your preferred saw blade or blades? Jeremy, go.
I don't know if I really have a preferred one. So right now, pretty much my go-to blade is a Freud. I think they call it Premier Fusion. I think that's what they call it. And it is their 40 tooth, but it's the the ATB? That's the
It's a high ATB.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm not a big, it's a great saw blade. But when I got it, I was kind of expecting something different. Because I was on the fence. It was really the first saw blade I started using after, disposable saw blades. I hate to use that word, but
but it's accurate.
Because you can't really resharpen those blades.
Truly.
But I was wanting a flat bottom grind blade, but I really didn't want to. Not necessarily fork out the money for a Forest woodworker too. I've heard mixed reviews about them. A lot of people said those saw blades were designed to be used raised all the way up, and you needed to use a blade stiffener on it. And so I wasn't really sure about it, so I went with this Freud, and it's a great saw blade. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it cuts smooth. It's awesome. But I really was not wanting another high ATB blade. But for what it is, I mean, it's a great blade, and I'm happy with it. But I will be going to a flat bottom grind blade probably within the next 6 months, just because that's more versatile to me, at least for the things that I do. So I stick with the 40 tooth, so like a general purpose blade. So that's, besides one, I think, DeWalt blade that came with my table saw. It's probably the only blade. I got a dado stack, an old Craftsman 8-inch dado stack that I got from my grandfather. He must have not used it very much, because that thing is still super sharp. But then again, my table saw won't accept anything over a 1/4 inch stack, so I guess it's time to upgrade the table saw.
Is it because of the throat? Which table saw do you have?
I have a DeWalt. I don't remember what model number it is. I have to look it up.
It's one of the job site saws?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
is it one of the new
not
ones?
very long.
Yeah, the arbor's not long enough.
Oh, okay. Well, it's not that big a deal a lot of times to do dados, in a couple passes.
Yeah, and that's the deal, is that I'm perfectly fine with that. And that's really why I bought that new saw blade about a year ago, and not really paying attention, not paying attention to the type of teeth. I just went with it because they call it their general purpose blade. Thinking that it was already,
that Premier Fusion.
Yeah, thinking it was going to be a flat bottom,
Yeah.
but it wasn't. So,
Well, I guess I'll go next since I went last time. I've gone through several brands in the past, and before I used to use Craftsman blades, and they had their professional line, which I really didn't take the time to sharpen when needed, because they were still pretty affordable, except for their 80 tooth count blade. That was upwards of like $60 or $70. So I'm like, can't throw that one away very easily. But I did go through those blades that you get at big box stores like Lowe's, Home Depot, DeWalt, and Irwin blades, and they just wouldn't keep the edge very long. So I stopped using those, and then I recently converted over to Freud blades, and I use their glue line rip blade most of the time. Even with cross-cutting, I use it some. Now, it does offer some tear out, of course, because it's not meant for cross-cutting, but it does have a more of a flat bottom grind on it. It's not a true flat bottom because the shoulders are have a triple grind on it. So whenever I'm doing like half laps, anything like that, the very bottom shoulder is slightly rounded, so I kind of have to chisel that out if I want it to be flat. But for the most part, it does real well for joinery. And then I have the plywood melamine blade, which is a very high ATB, and it's almost like a knife shear as it cuts through that veneer.
Yep.
And I really, really love that blade. It does not do any tear out whatsoever. I'm very impressed with that blade. So I tend to sharpen those a lot more because I don't want to get rid of them.
And you have, did we just talk about that last time, that you have a local guy that you use?
I sent off to a gentleman that contacted me. He was one of my viewers at the time. I don't know if he still is. I'm sure he might catch a video or two here and there, but he worked for a sharpening company. I can't remember the state or city, but he had asked if I wanted to try them out, and I said sure. So I sent all my blades out, and took a little bit of time, but I mean, I still had some other blades to use. So they did a really good job on them, and they're in my table saw waiting to go whenever the Freud blades need sharpened. And I'll probably send those to Freud themselves just because they have specific specs that they do on their sharpening.
Sure. Yeah. And that I just hate sending my blades. I hate paying for shipping. My blade sharpening guy dropped my blades off today. You know, he drops off and picks up. He has a circuit every Tuesday. That's his day. He gets out of the shop and he drives the rounds. And I just got my blades back today, and they're perfect, and they're delivered to my house. So, you know, I just can't pass that up.
That's like the milkman.
He does a really
50s.
Nice job. It is. It is.
Leave your blades out on the front porch. There you go.
Yeah. So there's all these kids running around. Instead of looking like the milkman, they look like the sharpening guy. So,
what about you, Todd?
Well, my favorite blades that I love the most aren't made anymore. They're Systematic, and Systematic was an American blade manufacturer, and they went out of business a few years ago. And their blades really were pretty awesome. And you know, they're $120 a piece or something like that. And I remember buying my first Systematic, and I just freaking choked. You know, I really had a hard time dishing it out. But my sharpening guy's like, you don't understand. These are like the best. And I bought one, and then it didn't take anything to turn around and buy another one. But those are my favorite, but I only have a couple of them. And I actually have a bunch of, they were called Sawyer's Choice. And I think Systematic made them, is what I was told. And they're really good blades. I use them all the time too. In the shop, I do have my go-to blades that I love the most are my CMT on my miter saw. I have a CMT General. It's a thin curve, and it's a high ATB 40 tooth. And man, it cross cuts and cuts plywood with veneer like a laser. I mean, it's so good, and it's basically the competitive blade to the Freud Fusion. I have some Freud Fusions. I don't like them. I've got teeth replaced on them. It doesn't take anything. I think I found that the Freud Fusion, they cut wonderfully when they're sharp, of course, but for some reason it just seems like the carbide is way more brittle than the CMTs. So I prefer the CMT blades. I do have the glue line rip Freud. The nice thing about the glue line rip is, you know how the teeth configuration is. You got the flat grind and then the triple chip grind right behind it, and it alternates. Is that those teeth? I noticed that this seems to be a common problem that I've noticed with the Freud blades is their carbide is extremely brittle, and at least on the glue line rip, because it's a thicker tooth, you know, and its geometry supports the cutting edge better than on the high ATB. They don't fracture as bad, but I still have problems with the teeth fracturing. So as I'm replacing teeth as a chip, but as the blades wear out, I'm not replacing them. I'm going to another brand. I'm going to like AEG or something like that. I have a Forest Woodworker too, and it really leaves a lot of raking. It doesn't leave a clean cut. I'm really disappointed with it. I have thought about sending it to Forest to see if maybe my sharpening guy somehow is messing it up. Thing is, all my other blades come back perfectly sharp, because you realize once they mount that blade on the sharpening machine and it holds it should be spinning true, or it's going to not grind it the same, because basically they have to remove the same amount of material off the face of each tooth and off the cheek or the sides of each tooth on both sides, and then they have to grind the top. Well, every tooth gets ground exactly the same, you know, so that should be perfectly in line. So why all my blades come back fine, but my Forest still is leaving kind of a lot of rake lines on my cuts. I don't know, but my CMT blades and my or what was I saying? My Systematic blades are definitely my favorite first. They don't make those anymore. My CMT blades are my second favorite. And the Freud blades, I'm using them, and I'm just going to use them till they're used up, and I'm replacing them with other brands that I like better. But the thing about the Freud blades, you need a blade. They're everywhere. They're easy to find, and I would choose the Freud blade over a lot of the other crap that's out there. I will say this: one of the cheap blades that I've actually found that I really do like, and I get really great results with, is the Irwin Marples 50 tooth combination blade from Lowe's. Cost about $40. When I was buying them, they were $35 just like a year ago, and now they're up to $40. But why I buy them is because they're cheaper, and I'm doing a lot of reclaimed wood with them. I designate them as my reclaimed wood blades, and I cut through so many nails when I do reclaimed wood. And the teeth stay on. If it was a Freud blade, all the carbide would blow off. But those Irwin blades, they hold their carbide, and I can't believe how well they hold up and for the abuse that they take. So one of my recommendations, if you're looking for a cheaper blade that actually does really well, the Irwin Marples made in Italy blades at Lowe's, I've been kind of impressed with them, and I literally buy them as a disposable blade, and they ended up impressing me.
I had an Irwin Marples blade once. I don't know if it was the general purpose, but I did remember having one, and I had a carbide tooth pop off. So that kind of freaked me out when it happened too. But did
it hit you?
No, it hit the ceiling above me.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been hit by a lot of carbide. You can hit so many nails, and then it's like they hold up to a certain point, and then they all blow. And it's just like a machine gun shooting bullets at you, man.
Your CMT blade that you have, is your blade orange, or is it one of their still colored?
Yep. It's one of the orange ones. It's the CMT General thin curve 40 tooth.
I'm on their website right now, just kind of checking out because I know I'm ordering a new blade.
Jeremy's shopping.
Yeah.
Hey,
now, I will say this.
Well, I mean,
I will say this. I'm very good about using blades. I change blades a lot. I use blades very specific to the task at hand, because taking a couple minutes to change a blade does increase my results so well. It's worth it to me.
Yeah. So do you have the general purpose or their combination? Is it a high ATB or is it a flat tooth?
Let me grab it real quick.
Show and tell.
Yeah. I got to know, because, see, even Todd's given feedback on the Woodworker too, so that just makes me think maybe I don't want to go with the Woodworker 2 and maybe something else. So
here's the item number 214.040.10.
Yeah, that's an ATB.
Yeah, that's a high ATB too.
Yeah, this is a high ATB. That's why I say this is this basically is the competition to the Freud Fusion.
Okay. Yeah, see, so when I'm looking
now,
the one
if you want super clean cuts, yeah.
The one that
if you want super clean, go ahead.
Okay, one at a time.
I'm stopping.
All right.
I'm stopping.
All right, so the one I'm looking at is their combination blade, and it looks like it has two different teeth that are high ATB, and then it's got a third tooth that's a flat tooth grind.
A raker.
Yeah, a raker. So that looks like I may be going with that, but this saw blade is definitely different than anyone I have. So it has, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It has 5 teeth, and then it's got like a gap, and then another set of 5 teeth followed by another gap. It's like
it almost sounds like the Craftsman multi-purpose blade as well.
Yeah,
I've got one of those.
Well, that's typical configuration for a combo blade.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the CMT General is definitely, the most direct competition to the Freud Fusion. The problem with the Freud Fusion, though, like I said, is the teeth are too brittle, and the CMT teeth hold up a lot better. And the thing is, guys, they do give you great cuts. The Freud blades, I get great cuts with them, but what I'm finding is over the lifetime of the blade, I get more fractured teeth. None of my blades get fractured teeth like the Freud blades. The only other blades that I lose all the teeth on, of course, are the ones that I dedicate to working reclaimed wood. And I expect any blade, I'm just gonna absolutely trash those. So, that's obvious.
And that's a good tip for anybody that is working with some old nasty wood, is to dedicate a cheap blade for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even my sharpening guy, he said we talk blades all the time, and he said, the Freud blades, when he sharpens them, the teeth will flake off sometimes, right when he goes to sharpen them, and the grinder, an 8,000 grit wheel hits it. He said they'll just flake off, and he was real impressed with the Irwin Marples blades as well. He said they seemed to be holding up. He was impressed with how they were holding up.
It's funny. It struck me funny when you said, "Yeah, we talk blades all the time." I can just see you sitting around a water cooler going, "What do you think of that CMT blade, boy?"
Yeah, yeah. But the thing is, that Freud Fusion and the CMT General, these things, they do give incredible cuts, especially for cross cutting. Extremely super clean. And also, if you want a blade that cuts really super clean on the table saw for plywood, veneer plywood, and you no tear out, they do wonderfully. So, I know a lot of guys buy the Freud blades and they like them, but comparatively with all the other blades that I've used over the years, I find that the teeth just don't hold up the same.
Yeah, well, I mean, I love my CMT router bits. I mean, excellent quality.
Yeah.
So I may, and that's I may look at so I'm on here, and from what I can tell, this is the blade that I would end up buying, and it's $65 compared to a Woodworker 2, which is $112, and then the Freud blade is, I think I paid $100 for it. So I may give the CMT a shot. My only concern is being able to get it truly sharpened and not being considered one of those disposable saw blades.
Right. No, when it comes to the router bits, I'm Freud is at the bottom of the list. And the thing is, I have a Freud dealer locally, so it's easy to go pick up. They got everything. If you open a catalog, they've got everything in the catalog right here, 3 miles from my house. But if they have it in stock, they also have Whiteside and Amana, and I will buy the higher end blades. If I want a really good blade, I'll get Whiteside or Amana and skip the Freud. If I just need a little beating bit, I'll buy the Freud. But the Whiteside, Amana, and my CMT bits far outperform the Freud bits any day of the week. Just day after day, week after week, they're way better.
Yeah.
Well, for those that aren't familiar with the purchasing of those, the Freuds are kind of a higher price. What does the CMT compare to the prices like Freud sells? Are they pretty equal?
A little bit more.
A little bit more?
They're close, but just a little bit more. Once you get into Whiteside and Amana are definitely better than the CMTs, but the difference is not as noticeable as it is to the Freuds. And so it's all, it's all relative.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I have a couple Whiteside bits, a couple Freud bits, and a couple CMT, and I enjoy my CMT the most, but it's probably because my Whiteside and my Freud both are more specialized all my general purpose ones are, like my 1/4 inch roundovers and all that are CMT. So,
a lot of times it just comes down to what do you have in your area. When I work in Ohio, I go down to Woodworks in Columbus, Ohio, and a lot of people that are in Central Ohio, they're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. But Woodworks is like the great place to buy stuff as a woodworker, and they have real strong representation for CMT. So it's easy for me to pick all that stuff up. I have to order it in, here. So like I hit a job and I'm like, oh man, I need this bit. And I go down to A&H Turf, my cabinet shop dealer, and I got to buy a Freud if they don't have it in Whiteside or Amana. So, you just have to get what you get. And they all do a good job on the front end, right up front at first. And it's just, to me, the performance value of how they hold up over time. And I'm finding the Freud's just not there. That's the difference.
So let's, for a miter saw, what would you go with? Would you go with an ATB or a high ATB?
I go high ATB. This CMT General is my first go-to blade for it.
So that you use that on your miter saw.
Yeah, I got one on there now. I got two of these because I got one on, and then I got one ready to go.
Okay. And that's so you use a 40 tooth on that?
Yep. Oh, and get this, guys. The whole concept of you need a 80 or 100 teeth to get a clean cut, not true. With today, here's the thing. That used to be true, and it still is somewhat. But with the geometry configuration, they're able to get a certain level of geometry out of the teeth based on the metallurgy that they're able to produce today compared to what they were able to do 10 years ago or 15 or 20 years ago. So this 40-tooth blade gives amazing cut and holds up because basically advancements with modern technology and being able to work the metal. So you don't need 80 teeth or 96 or 100. 40 works wonderfully. And the thing is, you got less resistance, so you got less heat, and the teeth last longer. And there's less teeth to sharpen.
Higher ejection rate and everything. So
Right, exactly. That's exactly right.
Cool. Okay. Man, that's a lot of info. Some info I didn't know there.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It completely goes against what most people hear. 40 tooth is all you need.
Okay.
Basically, that I think that's one of the only things I don't like about. I have a Festool Capex, and it's got a high tooth count on the blade, and their blades are really good, but I just don't need all these teeth, but you're stuck in the Festool ecosystem, and you got to use a Festool blade, and that's what they make, and their blades are really good, but to me, I'm just like, man, there's just like twice as many teeth as 2 or 3 times as many teeth as there needs to be.
Yeah, because the Capex doesn't have a standard 5/8 inch arbor on it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's like Apple. It's all proprietary.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So before we jump into product, and I'm glad you kind of led into that there, Todd. So if you listen to a few episodes back, I was talking about not being truly happy with my Festool domino.
Oh, yes.
So browsing the internet.
You need help. Bring Sam back. You need help.
Why? Do you have a domino?
Yeah.
And you're happy with it?
Oh, extremely. Man, it's made me money.
Do you have the 700? Do you have the 500 or the 700?
I got the 500.
Okay, so that's what I have. And do you know what I'm talking about, though? When you push down on the locking levers,
yes.
like you just keep pushing on them. They don't really lock. And that's
you are right.
I truly
it's soft, isn't it?
Truly be happy with it if when I did panel glue ups, my panels weren't misaligned. But when I don't change any settings and I run down a board and do all my holes, and then I run down another board, I go to glue them up, and I make sure I use the carpenter's triangle. I'm making sure I'm using the same sides up. Why?
Yep.
Why are they misaligned? The entire length of the board. That's what I'm not happy with.
So is it fence creep, or is it simply that you're not holding exactly the same every time?
It could be a mix of both. I don't know. I haven't used it enough. To do it, but I do know the 3 times or 4 times that I've done the panel glue up. I did a tabletop, and I've done a couple, 2 or 3 pizza pills on it, and every single time the panels have been misaligned the entire length of them. So
well, I do want to acknowledge, yes, the clamping system is kind of squishy on it, and to be honest, I've never felt fully comfortable with it, but actually it works on mine. And I got to tell you, when I first got it, I got to use it years ago, like a couple weeks before it came out. And they were letting a lot of the dealer here was letting contractors take it home for a day. And I got to test drive it in the shop on an actual project, and it sold itself just like that. But when I got it, and even when I used it for that day, I was kind of like, this whole fence clamping, it's not like on my DeWalt biscuit joiner or my Porter cable biscuit joiner where it's pretty positive and solid, because it works a lot like a biscuit joiner as a point of reference. So I was like, and it's pot metal. And I thought, well, that's going to be a breaking point. Within a week, mine did break when I clamped it.
Yeah.
And you turn it till you keep turning it because it doesn't hit a solid stop or fully tighten, and it broke. And I took it in, and they gave me another one on the spot.
Yeah.
So, but then I've had it all these years now, and it's never broken again. And I don't have a problem in fence creep, but I got to tell you, you're right. The things that you're saying, and you do kind of have to get a hang of determining a method of setting that fence down and pushing it against, and ensuring that you hold it on the material the same every time, or else it will be off a little bit. It's not like a biscuit joiner. That's kind of the nice thing. A biscuit joiner has just a little bit of slop to it. That's just like the right amount of slop.
Yeah.
And of course the domino is like perfection, and it has to be perfect. So, you are right.
Take your sanders to your dominoes.
You can. I've done that.
So, I'm definitely gonna give it some more shot and play around with it some more before I get a definitive answer on it. But did you buy the Seneca accessories for it that turn the gauges to imperial?
No. No, I didn't. And in fact, you were the first time I heard of that.
Yeah.
So that's why I listen to you guys. Keep me in the loop.
I'm actually going to probably end up buying them. So the gauge on the side, which is I can't even remember now. That is the height gauge. No, that's not.
Well, I got it right here.
So handy.
Yes. Yeah, this thing, though, it literally, of course, I'm a business. It has made me money. So, yeah, on the side is...
Yeah, so the black gauge right there, Seneca sells that.
It's a depth stop.
Yes, the depth stop. Seneca sells that in Imperial, and I think it's like $65 or something. It completely changes that piece out to Imperial measurements.
Okay.
And
that would be an easy change.
They may make the tape that changes the fence gauge as well to Imperial. I don't remember. But then they sell.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They sell 2 different things called the dom. They sell what's called the Domi plate, and it bolts onto the fence. And one side is geared towards 3/4. You flip it over, one side's geared toward 1/2 inch. So it will perfectly center that domino in 1/2 inch material or 3/4 inch material. And I think that's like $75. So I think I'm going to go ahead and order at least the gauges, so it eliminates one version. Like it eliminates one problem, and let me see if I can get the rest of it to work. But
well, you know, and to me the setting's kind of relative. I just basically set it to the basic center of 1/2 inch or 3/4, and it's the same, you know, because even you know, because I have a face up and a face up that have to be face up, and when they come together, if I've referenced, you know, the fence off those face up on both of them, they should fit together perfectly. And it really doesn't matter if it's off, you know, 1/8 of an inch, you know, towards the top or the bottom, as long as it's basically centered. I'm always really close, you know, within less than a 1/16, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So, but you know, it's like I don't know that one would be necessary.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give it a shot. I mean, it's there. I'm gonna try it out.
I would say focus on seeing what you can do to master registering it the same every time. So like, you know, when I put the fence down, there's a certain way that I set the fence. I set the domino down nose first and then drop it into place. And then I keep my hand on this perfectly flat. You know, I think it still takes skill. It's like the work sharp. The work sharp doesn't give you a square chisel. You got to skew it there's a little bit of skew you have to put to it to get that perfectly sharp square edge. And the domino, same sort of thing. You got to get a feel for it and understand how to set it at the same time every time in order to get it. Because even I've got it off a little bit. And just like Drew said, I sanded the domino a little bit.
Yeah. So
I sanded half the domino so it would get in there.
I need some slop.
I am going to use it to finish off. I'm going to use it for alignment for the tabletop, and then I'm going to use it to put the benches together to finish my wife's table. And hopefully by the end of that, I'll have a better idea. But the reason why I brought this up again is because a lot of people are saying, you know, oh, I wish I had that, but it's so expensive. I can't do it without that. Well, I can't remember how I stumbled across this this week, but Triton Tools makes a version of the domino. And I guess it's been out for a while. So it's a version of it has been out for a while. I guess the original version was the TC 500 DWL, and then they made the TJD 600, and now they make now they have it's the new one's the TDJ 600. It is a doweling jointer, but it is identical to the domino. It is think of a version that looks like the domino, but it actually cuts 2 round dowel holes at the same time. Two cutter bits.
I've seen machines like that. They were I don't know if it was Mayful or they were European though, for sure.
So
I think I've seen those too.
But I know exactly what you're talking about.
But so here, yes, you don't get the domino, but it works the same way, and it's about $250 or $275. In fact, I got it pulled up here. It's $223. So
wow,
it's
total price.
Yeah, $223 is. I'm off their website, and they have it. Let's see. Yeah, $223 free shipping from Triton. And I don't know. So it doesn't include all the different bits. I think there's 3 different size bits. It comes with one size. You got to buy the other 2 sizes, and those look like they range about $65 for a set. But I mean, to get you started, you're looking at $225. It's a version of something like the Festool if people are wanting that type of machine.
Sure. Well, the thing is too, like the domino, I use it for putting together a lot of face frames, and it is a tenon, and so it is it has actual integrity and strength to it, where a biscuit doesn't. And of course, one of the big issues I've had with biscuits is they do swell up, and I'll slam panels together and then sand them right away, and the biscuits swell up, and then I sand swollen wood right over those biscuits, and then it shrinks down, and there's a faint shadow. And the clients never see that stuff, but I definitely see it. And I've gone back. I've seen mantles, even the thick mantles that I've done that had biscuits in them, and seen biscuit depressions across them. And my shaker benches that I've built, biscuit depressions in those because I sand them too quick. But you don't get any of that swelling with a domino, just like you wouldn't with a dowel. So if they're selling a doweling type thing, I would think that would be for alignment and strength just as strong and as accurate as the domino. Oh, yeah. And I would say, just logically, it should be just as good.
Yeah, well, their biggest ones for their machine are a 10 millimeter dowel. Well, the biggest one for the 500 is a 10 millimeter domino.
Yeah.
So it's going to be the same thickness. You're just getting two round dowels at the same time versus the look of the domino. So
what's the spacing between those dowels?
What's the
That was just what I was wondering too.
I don't know. I'm on here on their website. It'd probably take me a bit to find it, but it doesn't look more than.
What page is that on? Are you in the PDF catalog?
No. Here you go. I will.
Oh, dowel joiner 5051.
Yeah. So it doesn't look like it's more than, maybe an inch between centers. So.
Oh, that's interesting. And it's interesting to see Titan make their move in the U.S. and try to stomp out, some territory in the U.S. Do you guys have any Triton tools?
I do not.
Nope.
Yeah, I don't have any either.
I don't. I've been contemplating getting one of their routers for my router table, just because my Craig router table was designed around the Triton router.
Oh, really?
It was that way. I don't have to order a separate lift because the Triton router has a built-in lift, and that's what they designed their router table around. Now I can buy the separate lift from Craig that will fit, a variety of other routers. So I've been contemplating, do I want to go with the Triton or go ahead and buy the lift, spend the $300 on the lift and then the other, $200 for a Porter cable motor. I don't know.
What are you using, Drew, for your router lift?
Oh, I have a Jessam router lift. It's not the Jessam 2, I don't think. I think it's just the Jessam 1, but it's that glass top aluminum lift.
Oh yeah. How do you like that one?
I like it. It took me a little bit to find the collars to accept my router because I didn't have the 3-horse router. I just had the horse and a half router, and the collars were discontinued, and it took me a while to find a third-party dealer that still sold them. So once I found the collar, then I was all right.
I use the I don't have a dedicated router. Well, I have a Bosch router table that I used to take to job sites all the time. And I use the big DeWalt 3 horsepower. I got 2 of them sitting on the shelf over here. But I use the wood rat lift. And so I can reach under the table and squeeze it, and it lifts super easy. And it's not a precision type adjustment like the Craig or the Jessam, but for a base router table, just the more primitive style, that is a great system to have. Mm-hmm. And because it's part of the router, then I can squeeze it and I can plunge if I'm hand holding it, using it on top instead of bolted to the bottom of the router table.
Right.
But I use my shaper now as a router table. I don't even. Oh, one of the woodworking myths is that you can't use a shaper for small router bits because the spindle speed's too slow. Yeah, that's crap. I didn't even find this out till like years later. I'd been doing it for years, and it works just fine. That's one of the myths.
Well, you heard it.
Well, you can't use the big shaper for small router bits. It spins too slow. It won't work. Well, it's been working for me for years.
Well, you heard it here first, folks.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about some product tool recommendations. Drew, you want to go first?
Sure. I recently came into a new impact driver that was designed by Ryobi, and it's called the Quiet Strike impact driver. And it is so much different than just a standard impact driver. Normally, it sounds like you're stripping the screw out on a regular impact driver, and this one it just has a it's real quiet. But it still does the job just like a normal impact driver. It's a little bulkier looking than I'm used to, but it was very, very interesting to try out. I think it was something that they've recently released, so they wanted to see how I liked it. So
how does it feel the same? Does it feel, because with an impact driver, there's a certain way that impact causes the bit to engage the head of the fastener. Does it feel the same?
It does. I mean, you still feel the jolting of it, but the sound that it gives off is a lot quieter.
Yeah. I can remember when those impact drivers came out, there was this real love-hate thing because they were so freaking loud compared to the drivers. When they first came out, it was just like we were used to using drill drivers and our drills for driving, and they were quiet. And then this impact thing is like a jackhammer in your hand, know.
And if the handle's not comfortable,
worked so good.
Yeah, if that handle's not comfortable, it sucks to use. I remember when I made my little sectional, that 2x4 sectional, a long time ago. I was using an impact driver for all of the screws, and by the time I was done, it just felt like I'd been riding a Harley Davidson for like a 100-mile trip. What the impact driver?
The thing is, yeah.
It was a Porter cable.
Oh, really? Yeah, I've not used the Porter cable. And the thing is, you're right though, because especially like what's one of the common uses, people building decks. You know, and you drive a few thousand screws, on a deck, and you're just kind of hating it if you don't have a decent one.
I would have loved to have had this Quiet Strike when I was making that sectional. So that is my referral for that.
Nice. What's the torque rating on it?
Yeah, you got me. I haven't looked at that.
Okay. People can look it up. They can go to the link and look it up.
Yeah, that's right.
I think that is kind of the next big thing, especially with the drill or the impact drivers, is making them quieter, not just making them more powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Todd. Well, what do you recommend?
Oh man, guys, I got a good one. I don't want this is going to sound like a paid advertisement, and it's not. Because I bought my own with my own money, and I've been using it a lot. So reclaimed wood, of course, is all the rage, and I've been doing a lot of it. And, a few years ago, people would ask me to do a headboard or some simple table, and I would, try to wire brush, and then I got the little wire bristle head that you put on your drill. And, and then, nylon brush and brush the wood. Well, those are freaking horrible methods. And I'm like, I hate reclaimed wood. I'm never doing it again. And when these local architects talked me into taking on a project for them, I got the Makita 9741 wheel sander. And what it is a brush sander. And it's got a brush that's about 4.5 inches wide. And it is a beautiful machine, guys. This thing cost about $465 on Amazon. It's close to $500 by the time I think you get your shipping in there. You're in between, $460 and $500. Well, anyways, it comes with a 100 grit nylon brush, and that 100 grit nylon brush does a beautiful job of cleaning out the material. One of the things that I often get requested when I'm doing reclaimed wood projects is people will be like, "Can you just take the wood and put it on our wall?" We want to use it as our headboard. And I'm like, most of that wood's corral wood and it's got manure on it. And your hair is going to be in the manure. And I'm like, that's gross. Yeah. So I'm like, I got the brush sander and it will brush off, it clean up the wood. And what it does is the nylon bristles are soft enough, they have an abrasive in them, and they clean up the wood, and they will take some of the color off with the 100 grit anyways, but it'll also take off all the manure. And it has a wonderful port that my Festool hose plugs right into and sucks up like 90+% of the dust. So I can process the wood very quickly and also without raising a bunch of dust in the shop. And of course I have that thing hooked up to my dust deputy. So anyways, you can get an 80 grit brush with it or for it, and you can get a 240 grit brush if you want to maintain more of the gray or silver color in the wood, because the 100 grit and the 80 grit will strip off that silver color, in the wood and take it down to a fresher wood. But one of the beautiful things about the brushes is that they maintain the integrity of all those saw marks from the mill. So it maintains all that texture. And then, of course, with the wood being old, it's going to have soft grain and hard grain, and it weathers as it weathers out. So the brushes enhance that texture. Now, if you also want, you can get a steel wheel brush, which you could take like an oak board and literally grain it out. Like a lot of times if I need graining done, I'll take it to a local shop and they'll sandblast or soda blast it or whatever abrasive it is that they use to give it that weathered look. Well, you could do that with the wire wheel brush and then go to one of the other, like the 100 grit brush, to soften it out. So for processing reclaimed wood, I'm recommending you guys got to check out the Makita 9741 brush sander. And I truly was not paid to say any of that. It's all passion, baby. It's all passion.
It looks really cool. You can use it on wood. I've seen pictures of people using it on concrete.
No, I've never heard of anybody using it on concrete, but obviously somebody must have. Oh, let me grab something real quick.
That's actually a really interesting little tool there.
I'm pulling it up now.
Okay, and and the brushes, they last a long time. I've been amazed at how well the life I'm getting out of the nylon brushes. So here is a brand new brush, one of my replacement brushes, right? Here's a used one.
Wow.
Yeah. Look at the difference.
That's quite a bit of difference there.
It's a lot of material, though, to go through.
Yeah. Man, I'm talking hundreds and hundreds of board feet of material that I've brushed. And they work as good at the end as they do at the beginning.
In case y'all haven't seen, the wheel is like half the diameter, basically, of what Todd's showing of a brand new wheel. So there's a lot of material to go through.
One of the neat things, too, is, with a belt sander, if you take a belt sander to your project, you can wreck a project really quickly. The brush sander is so forgiving, and you don't wreck your projects in any way, shape, or form like a belt sander would. This thing works. It's so easy to use. The learning curve's super easy, and you just can't hardly even mess it up. So I highly recommend them. If you just do a couple projects, you'll be so glad you got it, because brushing out reclaimed wood by hand is like living in hell. I mean, it's horrible. Because I've done that. It's not good.
It's definitely an interesting looking machine. So
yeah, it works really well.
All right. Well, I'm going to recommend a nice, cheap little part. And Todd, I talked to you about this a while back, if you remember. So probably back about a month ago, maybe a little more than that, I have the Portal Cable pancake air compressor and the bleed port on it completely just shot to bed. It was all stripped out. It wouldn't hold air. And I had remembered, so Todd had put out a video a while back about air compressors and maintenance on them. And I was looking at replacing the bleed port on it, and I decided instead of going with another Porter cable ball type valve, I was going to give the Boss Stitch one a try. And I got it in, I got it on, and it is absolutely awesome. I mean, I think that it's like an $11 part, but the fact that
isn't it amazing?
Oh, it's awesome. The fact that it's got a ball valve that will bleed it quickly, and you don't have to get under there and unscrew it and screw it back, and hopefully you get it in the right area that won't let air out. It's been awesome, and I think so for the last 6 months or longer, I've had a leak, and my tank hadn't been holding air, and I think I finally figured it out now, because now my tank's just holding air. I filled it up like 2 weeks ago, and it still has air in it. So I highly recommend, if you don't want to pick up the Boss Stitch, you want to get another one, replace that valve at the bottom. Get yourself a ball valve for it. It is awesome. You will not hate yourself for doing it.
Well, that was cool to see you got that. And I've not used the Boss Stitch one, but it looked nice. It looked competitive to the other one I think I'd sent you a link to. Yeah, and I might have sent you that link as well, yeah. But it looked like a good one.
Yeah, and there was no rhyme or reason why to go with the Boss Stitch over the Porter cable, because the Porter cable, they do make a ball type one. Besides the fact that you said you hadn't used it, and why not give it a try? So I put it on and gave it a try, and man, I love it. I absolutely love it.
Well, I'd say Boss Stitch stuff is just as nice as the Porter cable stuff.
Yeah.
Really.
So
because I've got both. Well, cool. That's great to hear. And I mean, that is like that simple valve is a huge improvement to the compressor.
Absolutely. I mean, it makes it easy to drain it alone. So the maintenance on mine I lacked for the longest time, because to get under there and bleed it out, to get the water out of the tank and stuff, it was just such a pain. Now it's quick, it's easy. I can bleed it out in a matter of about 30 seconds and have it closed and be on my way. So it is.
Do you ever drain that one in your cabinet, Drew?
Yeah, occasionally. I will. Occasionally? It's just right outside the door, so I'll drain it about once a month.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, is that the one in your table saw cabinet?
No, well, my assembly table, yeah, it's just on the other side of the door, so I can just open the door and then pop the the tubing off of the inlet, and I can drag it out.
Oh, okay.
So, all right, well, if you guys would like to support the show, you can head over to www.woodshop101podcast.com/listen and find the show notes for today's show or any other episode. There'll be links in the bottom of the post for some one-time donations and small recurring donations. If supporting us monetarily is not in your wheelhouse and not something that you can or want to do, we'd greatly appreciate you go over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star rating. That helps us reach a greater audience, and that truly does. Those ratings really play a matter in iTunes and where you get rated in the iTunes store. So head over, leave us a 5-star rating, and leave us a comment. We like to read those comments, and it kind of gives us a morale boost when we see one come up that's positive.
Positive, yeah. Positive. Very constructive and positive.
Yes. Yes.
Well, before we sign off, this has been a really great show. Todd, I know that there are some people that are interested in what you do, so give them some info on how they can get in contact with you.
Sure thing. My website, AmericanCraftsmanWorkshop.com. My YouTube channel, American Craftsman Workshop. Find me on Instagram at American Craftsman Workshop. Find me on Facebook at American Craftsman Workshop. And I'm not on Twitter.
And that was not a paid advertisement.
No. And I'm not on Twitter. I'd rather rub my elbow on a cheese grater than be on Twitter.
That's how I feel.
Sounds like you and Jeremy are two of a kind there.
I don't want anything that
140 characters plus with the hashtags and everything. That's crazy.
I don't want anybody to limit
and pictures.
So,
Well, if you guys are interested in getting in contact with us, I'll make this very short and sweet. We do have an email for the Woodshop 101 podcast, which is woodshop101podcast@gmail.com. You can also go to the website, which is woodshop101podcast.com/listen. There you'll find all the episodes that you can download on all the type of media that you have, computer, cell phone, whatever. You can also reach us by our new Fandangle voicemail and be featured on our show, which is, let's see, I lost it, 409-234-3959. Once again, that's 409-234-3959. You can call from any type of phone or cellular device and be featured on the show with an answer from Jeremy, myself, and whoever happens to be the guest host at that time. If you want to get in contact with Jeremy, myself, or even Todd on an individual basis, like Todd said, you can reach him on his website, AmericanCraftsmanWorkshop.com. My website is rhwoodshop.com, and Jeremy's is CountrysideWorkshop.com. There you'll find contact information where you can reach us individually, and we will also tend to feature those questions on the show, so be sure and check in for that as well. So, now that that's all done and I can take a breath, we want to wish you guys well. Thank you guys for joining us on this episode, and we want to thank Todd for being a special guest with us again. We truly enjoyed it, Todd.
I had a lot of fun, guys. It's been a lot of fun. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been great. We appreciate you coming on.
All right, now we'll try and nail this without any lag, but I doubt it's going to happen. So here we go.
You guys hung me out to dry.
Here we go. We'll let Todd try and catch up. We'll delay a little bit here, Jeremy.
All right.
1, 2, 3.
Boom! Boom!
Oh, good grief! That was just
right.
No, he gave me
We gotta get together one night and practice.